my screen is freezing all the time. Don't know what. I think it's my laptop.
Seems okay now. And anyway, live and exclusive tonight. Kev O Sullivan's with us from the LFC Daytrippers. I think Kev's a show as well. Sports Unplugged at 10 tonight. Kev, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, we, myself, Chris, and Ash. We're going to be talking about everything from Liverpool to the World Games and loads in between. So yeah, we'll cover loads of stuff tonight.
Love that, Kev. That's great. And look, the LFC Daytrippers are doing brilliant content. I remember it wasn't so long ago, it would have been over a year at this stage, probably 2 years ago, they were only reaching 2K subs on YouTube, and now it's just evolved. And Gav, to be fair, is doing phenomenal work over there. He's putting his heart and soul, and the lads deserve all the credit because you're a free podcast, all his own opinions, but you're very, very good in it, and it's just evolving and growing the channel. So keep it going, mate. You're a big part of it, Kev. On to pre-season. Today is day 5. It's Friday. The lads were back in pre-season on Monday. We've 19 players returning back. We've a couple now towards the end of this week. The lads go to Asia tomorrow evening. I believe they fly out. First friendly then is against United on Tuesday evening UK time, and then Friday evening, I think it is, then against Crystal Palace in Singapore. Not too bothered myself, Kev. I'll go into your opinion now about like pre-season friendly games. They're all about getting lads back match fit, getting them used to having some kick about competitively again. And obviously it's more for the tourists, the fans that are abroad that in that side of the world would find it a lot harder to get the games than we would, and to get to see that beloved Liverpool. And Liverpool, look, it's a huge club. It's worldwide now, and these are vitally important globally for the club. So that's a great thing. But in terms of the result or how it goes, I'm not bothered. I always say, Kev, when it comes to pre-season, I take 3 points in the open day of the season over any pre-season win. Most important thing for me in pre-season is get the lads match sharp fit again. If there's anybody injured or has been injured at the end of last season, to come back and prove their worth again and get their fitness back. And just don't get any injuries in pre-season. Last year we got one to Robbo. Simicasto was a great replacement, come in, hit the ground running. We just don't need that like this, because a huge season ahead. It's almost like this season going into the World Cup, 2 seasons in one, really. You know what I mean? But I can't wait just for Liverpool to even get back to pre-season friendlies, because the last game, obviously, we know, was in Paris, didn't go so well. The whole thing with the French authorities, all the politics of it, it was awful to see. What do you make of pre-season, and what have you made of it so far, Kev?
I mean, I love it when you get all the lads back and you start getting all the content that the LFC channel are putting out. The funny stuff is like today with the blooper stuff when they were doing the adverts for the TV. They're a mad bunch. Like, I mean, Andy Robertson's an absolute nut job, but he's our nut job. It's all the little things that you see them all come back. And the best thing about us at the minute is, compared to a lot of other clubs, there isn't wholesale changes. There's a couple of Taki Origi going, Sadio going, but it's Sadio is probably the one. The other two were squad players, and you wouldn't really be depending on them for a title challenge. So it's there's not much disruption to the club, which is great to see, and you can see that with the way the lads have come back. They've come back really fit. Milner's done his usual trick of coming in and just ripping up the well, I'll be very careful how I say this.
Lactate test.
Lactate test, yeah. And he's a phenomenal athlete, first and foremost, a great professional, a great role model, and the fact he's going to be there for another year for me is brilliant. But with pre-season, you just hope to get through with no injuries, first and foremost. Everyone knows that they're going to be run off. They're going to get their minutes into the legs. That's great as well. You need to have that. But I always look at pre-season in the hope that you're going to get one or two that are just going to catch your eye. And Harvey Elliott was one last year where you're like, oh, wow. He really made an impression. And I hope to see a couple of lads just, even the squad lads, these are the lads now that are going on pre-season that we'll see early in pre-season anyway, that you might see as well in the early rounds of the League Cup. So you want to see them, how they're doing at the moment, and then you might have a look in the early rounds of the League Cup and see how they're going then. The likes of Kay Gordon. There's a few others as well. Ramsey, I want to see what he's like. I want to see if I hope he doesn't get starstruck by coming down from Scotland, playing with Liverpool with all these world-class players. There's a lot of things to look into, and you just hope to see someone coming away from it when, our last game is against was our last game, Strasbourg at home. You think, and you want to be talking about 4 or 5 players that, you've had a banging preseason. Get him, he's going to be knocking on the door. He's going to be pushing X player. He's going to be pushing this player. That's all you want. That's all. I'd be delighted if we get that.
Bob Hannon there, a cousin of mine actually, Kev, Robert Hannon throws in Elliot Deshoyne. The Nunes will get into 25 league goals, but Elliot Deshoyne, I think he could, and I think pre-season is great. Like, he was outstanding for us at such a young age till he got the injury at Leeds. Then he comes back, and the problem was, Kev, he come back and with so many players fit, firing, great fluidity, great rhythm in the team, 2-3 games a week. And he gets the goal against Cardiff, an unbelievable goal. And then he's in now the team, in now the squad. But none of us were ever going to say Elliot should go in and start, because every game was a must win. And you were going to go with the likes of Fabinho, your Hendersons, your Thiagos, your Keita's in there, you know what I mean? And even Milner, you know what I mean? When Milner, like, he came in some games, and him, Henderson, in midfield were awful against Chelsea away, and since then Liverpool evolved. They evolved when they played games after that. I think Elliot is, like, I've heard on other platforms, and look, it's only my opinion, and I respect all the other Liverpool fans, obviously opinions, or rival fans' opinions, that Liverpool need to sign a midfielder. When you look at it, you'd say okay, but Jurgen Klopp is the master of this. He knows everything what's going on. He can foresee things that we haven't, and you have to show full faith and trust. If Jurgen Klopp doesn't feel bringing a midfielder now, then now is, I believe, isn't the time, regardless of my opinion. Curtis Jones, great goal, great grit, fantastic touch, great height, experienced enough for his age, but struggles to get consistent game time. And if any player, particularly a young player like Elliot or Jones, don't get consistent game time, they are going to not struggle, but they're going to find it hard to get into the fluidity, the rhythm, because this is elite level we're talking about. This isn't mid-table or relegation or championship. This is the best of the best. This is up there with Madrid, PSG. This is up there with City, the very, very elite. If we're not the best club in world football, we're right up there as probably second, if not one. I know there's a debate, and others will say whatever. But this is as elite as it gets. So it's a little bit unfortunate for the likes of Curtis Jones to be in a Liverpool team at this era. Because years ago, he would have been in the team. He would have been outstanding. He would have got his game time. A local lad we all love to see.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, he would have. I've seen Curtis in games, and he's been brilliant. And then I've seen him in other games where I've stood up for him, because it's just, okay, he's had bad games. Everyone has bad games. But when he's a bad game, then you don't see him for 5, 6, 7 games, even in the squad. And sometimes you think he's being dropped, or Klopp isn't happy with him. But he is happy with him. It's just he's struggling to get in ahead of these big players that are usually experienced, have won things internationally. Thiago, for example, that's my excuse for them. I don't know whether you think taking it, or whether you think Elliot will evolve this season.
It's not an excuse, it's reality. There's a difference between Liverpool, 7, 8 years ago, trying to break into the top 4. What's your aims for the start of the season? Push as well as you can, get into the top 4.
Yeah.
When you're in that position, the squad is a different shape. It's a different mentality. It's a different target. You're looking for 76 points. And anything more than that is an absolute bonus. It's mustard after that. Where we are at now, you're dead right that we're in the conversation as being, I definitely say we're probably the best run club in the world. We're in a conversation of 4 that have been the best club in the world at the moment, full stop. And no matter which way you cut it up, if you're looking to target 90 plus points in a season and be competitive in every game, not everyone can play it all the time. And the likes of Curtis Jones, where 5, 6 years ago would have had a bedding in period in the squad, because you could hide a player like that. You could nurse him along and get into the top 4. And with doing that, You can't do that chasing City. So they have to take the chance when it comes. I like him a lot. I'm with you. I think he's got all the attributes to be a top footballer. And age is on his side. I keep saying this. And what Robert Hannon there is saying in the squad about Núñez getting 25 goals, I'll be absolutely shocked. I will be shocked beyond belief if he gets anywhere close to that. Reason being, most strikers, when they come into the Premier League, they need time to adapt. And it's probably the one position on a pitch where it's very difficult to adapt to style and to adapt your game to a different league. Wingers are a different breed. When you're playing on the wing, look, going past players for fun is what Luis Diaz does. And you don't really need to adapt to that. But when you're playing centrally and you're expected to get a certain amount of goals, it's a lot of pressure. But the beauty of Mo Salah signing and extending his contract means the pressure isn't on Darwin Núñez to hit the ground running. And I'd be surprised if Darwin starts the season. The first game of the season, I expect our front three to be Jota, Salah, and Diaz. I don't expect to see Darwin Núñez involved unless he's off the bench just to get tasters here and there. Unless he does something mad and he really hits the ground running, I'd be surprised. I think by the time he beds into the squad, he's going to be a great striker. But the difference between Darwin Núñez and Haaland, City have to get Haaland to hit the ground running, and he has to work straight away. No messing. He can't have a bedding in period. Whereas we're not solely dependent on Darwin Núñez to be our firepower. And I think that's going to be to his benefit in the long term. The media will drive the arguments, Núñez versus Haaland, the debate all season. But the reality is the clubs are in a different place with the sales that City have made, the acquisitions that they're bringing in, and where we are at the moment with our squad, and the fact that we're not really turning over an awful lot. We're just pretty much the same, go again, add a bit, sprinkle a bit of dust here and there, and push on. I'm not too fussed what Núñez does in his first season. More interested in what he does over the length of his time at the club. I think he's going to be a great striker, but I'm not going to be judging him in the first 3 months. Time is his friend in the same way as it is for Harvey Elliott.
And we can't forget as well, Kev, there about Salah, top goal scorer every year, unbelievable assist he gets every year, unbelievable contribution, always fit, ready for it, and you'd be mad to go against him to be top goal scorer again. And the fact that he signed this new contract now, and it seems he's going to come back hungrier. It looks like he's going to put the whole disappointment of Egypt behind him, losing the Champions League final, all that, and just go again. He's 30 years of age, still young enough for the athlete that he is. He's absolutely phenomenal athlete. He's coming back now, almost like rejuvenated, almost like a new signing. Because to be honest with you, Kev, the last 4 or 5 months of the season, he didn't do anywhere near his capabilities or what we expected, and he still finished top goal scorer in the league, third with Son and our top goal scorer. So that just shows the levels he's at. So you can't really put him out the argument here, because I think he's going to come back and be absolutely phenomenal. I expect that, and this whole new deal is just it's a game changer for all of us. It gives us more reassurance. It gives him. There's not, if he starts off the season bad, or he's on fire, let's say, the other flip of it, going into, say, the World Cup season where he won't be at it, it's not going to be, Salah's only a couple of months left, who's Liverpool's replacement? Because the media would have started that. Or if he's a bad season, he doesn't care anymore, he's on his way out. And again, Liverpool have let a player on a contract now. All that's gone to bed now. So that was huge news for me. It was good as news as any of the signings we brought in.
Yeah, same. For me, it was as good, if not better. I mean, that and Klopp extending. For me, everything we're always going to sign players, and the level of the club where we're at the minute, you're always going to sign good players. That's a given now. You have to turn over quality. But the fact that Salah has extended, the fact that Klopp has extended, Julian Ward has hit the ground running, Joe Gomez has extended his contract, it just goes to show where the club is, because all of these players could probably go and play first team football anywhere else, arguably for more money. But they believe the fact that they're going to be at a club where they're going to be competing for every trophy. Otherwise, they just wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that Mo Salah could have gone to PSG and replaced Messi and had medals and been, a star for PSG. No bother whatsoever. But he's signed on in a harder league where he's not guaranteed anything.
Yeah.
He knows he's cemented his legacy with the club now. Go back to 1 second, because around January, before AFCON, I honestly thought Salah was on target to beat his record. I honestly believed that if he kept going the way he was going, that he was going to get 40 goals. And it just goes to show the drop-off he had from coming back. And he's as human as everyone else. He's going to feel things, and not everything is going to work all the time. So the fact that he's had a break, he's come back refreshed, he can go until November, and then he's off for 4 weeks.
He's not away. He's not an international, so he can holiday or whatever he can do.
Go away for a couple of weeks, come back, have a mini pre-season, and then fly into the second half of the season. It only bodes well, and it takes pressure off of Nunes. The fact that Salah is there, and we're not going to have talk of Salah leaving, takes pressure off Darwin. And so does Jota. People sleep on Diogo Jota, another 20 goal a season forward. It's not like we're short of options. And Darwin is flexible. He can play left, right, or through the middle. He's a 6'2" powerhouse that isn't typecast to be one type of player. He can fulfill multiple roles in that front three if we go with a front three.
And his walk rate as well, Kev, from what I've seen, and the bit of research obviously I've done on him, he's phenomenal. For Uruguay, he's played out on the left that Mane role of attacking in attack, and he's also his walk rate with getting back and off the ball stuff, and similar to what Firmino does for us, is pivotal. There's no pressure on him going in. There's not. I know you said the media will drive it, and let them to it. They will. The pundits will have to say and all that, but we'll leave that, because Diaz has hit the ground running, so he's going to be expected to go. Salah, you have Jota there, as you said. Jota's going to come back hungry or never, and no one should sleep on him, because it wasn't so long ago when we lost the lads to AFCON, Keita, Mane, Salah. He stood up and was counted, and he was brilliant. And he was in now the team, but he just staged there halfway through the season where he was just starting, he touched, he scored, and we were all singing the anthem, the Jota song going around. It's great times to be a Liverpool fan, and I'm really pleased with the business we've done so far. He's a real kind of Cavani type of player, which is phenomenal for the 20. He's only gone 23, and touching there on Gomez, a new contract, really good till 2027. Liverpool have put a lot of faith in this, but they've seen something there that Matip's getting a bit older. You've Van Dijk getting a little bit older, obviously still our number one centre back, and then you've Konate there coming through, emerging, phenomenal centre back, huge, everything as a centre back. You need pace as well. But Gomez in 1920 was probably the best young centre back in world football then. He had an unbelievable season. There was times in that season, Kevin, those 2 seasons where he played better than Virgil centre back. He was phenomenal. He's had injuries, he's had setbacks. And unfortunately for him, when he was out, Matip came in and was phenomenal. He was absolutely brilliant. And last season, Matip, we're all surprised, never got injured. And then you had the emergence of Konate that came in. And every game he played, we never lost apart from the Champions League final. So everything just kind of gradually went against Joe slowly. But now he's a chance in pre-season. And if we can get him back, Kev, like those 4 centre-backs were spoiled for choice there. Obviously, you have 3 really, because Virgil's always going to be the number 1, but that's brilliant. Yeah. I can't remember the point in Liverpool where we were so strong in the full-back positions, the centre-back, and then even the keepers. It's brilliant. It's unbelievable.
It is really good. I just hope that Jurgen trusts the back 4 and rotates Virgil as well as Joel, because it's the one thing that he's always been reluctant to do is he'll rotate the others around Virgil. And I think it wouldn't do him any harm to manage his minutes in the build-up, because he will go to the World Cup and he will play, because the Netherlands could
go far.
They could go deep. So it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to manage his minutes. And Joe Gomez at 25 years of age is well able. I think I think people probably underestimate how bad that injury was that he picked up with England.
Yeah.
That was a career ender. Not, a decade, maybe 15 years ago, that was a career ender. People never recovered from those.
Yeah.
You look at the scarring around his knee and it's horrific. That was a terrible injury. The fact that I think he played over 20 games last season, be it off the bench or starting between domestic cups and what have you. It's a lot of players get, they get this tag, they don't play that much, but Joe played a fair bit, but I'd like to see him involved more. I'd like to see him and Ibu develop a partnership. In certain games that you look at and you think, I'd like to see them two for the long term be developed as the standout partnership for me. But you're developing that for the long term. But I don't think there's a better quartet. We said it last year. There isn't a better quartet of centre backs in any club anywhere, and I stand by that. And nothing I've seen to date has dissuaded me from that. No one has bought anyone to challenge those four as a quartet. And the fact that you've added Ramsey to the right back cover, we still don't know what he's going to be like. But
it's funny enough you mentioned Ramsey there, Kev. I have a mate that's a Celtic fan, and it was just before last season he was ranting about how good Ramsey is, and he didn't think Celtic or Rangers would get him because he says, I think he's going to go beyond that. He's being looked at by clubs, touted, and he'd know a lot more about SPL and even Aberdeen. And he broke into the team and he said, look, he's going to be something special. And he says, I don't like to compare players. And he said this well before Ramsey was linked, but he could see a similar situation, something like where Robbo, like this fullback emerging goes on. But he's even gone at a younger age, Robbo. Like he's 18, we signed him. Now, I'm not expecting he's going to play very little football, but he might start in a couple of the domestic cup games. But the fact that we're letting Nico Williams be sold for, looks like 15, 16 million, there's Fulham Forest in there, and bringing him in for a lot less cheaper, and he seems to, there's obviously something there that they're happy for him to understudy the Trent. Now, when we say an understudy, Gomez will be looking for game time. We know he can play a right full, Milner if needed. So I don't expect Ramsey, when Trent is ever out or rested, he's going to come in. But he could come in. We didn't know a whole lot about Simicast and other players, Robbo, when they came in. We knew a bit about him and knew, he had that attitude and desire. We knew all this. We'd seen bits of him. But with him, we don't really know much because I don't watch the SPL. No. But from what I've heard and seen, he seems to be a fine player and full of confidence and has that real football arrogance where he knows he's good and can do it. And that's working with Klopp, mentors like him, James Milner, Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson, Alisson, even Trent, all these wonderful role models and fantastic players in the Liverpool team. And put an arm around him. He's a chance to evolve, and he could be something special.
He's not a small kid either. He's 5'11", and
well built.
He's going to grow. He's quick enough. He's got a good delivery. He's a project. And if it works out, fantastic. If it doesn't, you'll double your money and then some. So what? Yeah. It's a risk-free transfer. It's the type of transfer that usually we'd have said, let him go and prove himself at a Nottingham Forest first, and then maybe we'll go and take a look at him after. Whereas they've obviously seen some. The same with Carvalho. Carvalho from Fulham. Yeah. They paid a fee for him, even though he was coming up on a free, because they knew for a fact that Dortmund were going to take him, and you'd be going to knocking on Dortmund's door in 2 years' time, and they'd be asking for 60 million quid. So
do you think Carvalho will play much?
Sorry?
Do you think Carvalho will play much? I know that's a mad question because we don't. I imagine the answer is no. But what do you think of Carvalho?
I watched him a fair bit. I think his link-up play last season for Fulham with Mitrovic was brilliant. In that free role behind the striker, I know that the Championship is not the same quality, but to play a full Championship season and win a title at that age, in that league, with the physical demands of that league, is only bodes well, and he has quality. I think he'll play the 5 sub rule means I think he will play more than what people would expect. And plus the fact he can play 2 or 3 positions. I think eventually, maybe in the second half of his, the second part of his career with Liverpool, I see him being a part of a midfield. But I think for now, he'll be maybe a backup wing option, or if Klopp decides to change things up in game, he could play as a second striker, or
so much versatility, isn't there, with the players we have, which is great. They're not just one position players. They can, and at that age, Kev, you can always emerge someone to play in a different position. Like, he's so young, and you talked about him doing great in the Championship. He done bits against Man City, he scored against them the FA Cup as well. I know they were beaten, but he has something about him that I really like, and I've seen a bit of him this week in pre-season. Look, again, it's very hard to judge players on that. But there's the reports coming back when you're looking up this week, if you're on LFC TV or whatever, seems to be very good. He's trained, so he's doing everything right so far, and you can only take him at face value for that. But
for me,
there's no pressure on him either, is there?
No, there isn't. And the thing is, for me, he looks like he's got the right amount of arrogance.
Yeah.
And you see then the photos of him with his dad.
Yeah,
it's that kind of person, that kind of personality with the arrogance on the pitch that you want someone like James Milner and Jordan Henderson around this kid for the next couple of years, next 2 or 3 years, to teach him how to be a pro. And I hope that we're going to look back in 3 or 4 years' time and talk about the fee that we've given to Fulham and say, look, let's just go back and give them something else because we just ripped them off here.
Yeah, we've a habit of doing that, don't we, to be fair? So you really expect that.
We're very, in fairness, you'd almost feel like that way with Virgil in Southampton, in all fairness, because that doesn't look like a rip-off as it was claimed at the time. We've done that a fair few times.
We have. It's great to see, and it looks like we could do it again because, like how shrewd we've been with money, and like that, even in the transfers now, Liverpool don't pay a lot up front. It's over years, and should we make the money back? So it's a win-win. And look, the club are in a fantastic position financially. On the pitch, everything's great. Off the pitch, and it's a perfect time. I always say it's a perfect time to be a fan, and we should embrace these because they don't last forever. And I've been through a lot of shit times as a Liverpool fan. On the club like you have, Kev, some great thing, but that happens. So you enjoy when it's here. Jude Bellingham, news broke last week. It's still a little bit ongoing, settled down a bit. Only recently turned 19. Very, very experienced player for just someone that's went 19. So between 16, 17, 18, the short number, I think it was number 10 at Birmingham, or whatever number he was at Birmingham, I'm not sure it was 10, is retired. That's how they speak of him and think of him. A legend there. Mad, Kev, the experience he has internationally, the experience he has in Bundesliga, and obviously when he played with Birmingham, the Championship. Such a phenomenal player. And this player, you can almost, some players you just know when you can really ensure they're going to be world class sooner rather than later. Jude Bellingham, talk of Liverpool spend between 100, 105 million pounds, which is whatever more in euro, 120 million euro. He only seems to be linked with Liverpool. Liverpool only seem to be linked with him. If he's a good season this season with Dortmund and he has a good World Cup, his value will just shoot up. You're talking at least 150 million, probably pounds then. Is there a chance Liverpool can sign him now, do a deal like Keita and bring him in next season? Because I don't necessarily think they actually need a Bellingham now, although some fans would say they do. I'm not. I think great, bring him in now if you can, let him settle in and all that. But I wouldn't be disappointed if we didn't sign him now. But doing some sort of deal or even an agreement where we get him next season, because he's a Premier League player. He wants to come to the Premier League. He's an England international. He wants to be around all his mates. Something similar to what Sancho done. And we know Dortmund, people say they're not going to lose Sancho, Haaland in a year and then lose Bellingham. But why wouldn't they not? They're so good at bringing in these young players. And if the price is right, they'll do business. And if the player wants to go, Kev, they'll do business. And we know that there's nothing worse than having a player that wants to go somewhere, but you're saying no because we know in a year or two we'll get an extra 40, 50 million. But you're going to unsettle things. You can hamper him going forward because he might have a little wobbler. I think this situation at the moment is perfect to do a deal. And I think, I'm not convinced or certain, but I'm more than, if you're doing a percentage, I think it's a 6 or 7% out of 10 will happen more than it wouldn't be. What do you think about all about Bellingham? What's your whole
I can very easily get on board the train of get it done. If he's available at all, get it done. But, and I'll say this is a big but, between what happened last week and the conversations and this week, Alex Witsel is signed for Atletico Madrid on loan for a year.
Yeah.
That for me it sent up big red flames and say, whoa, hold on here now. Alex Witsel is as experienced centre mid in European football as you're gonna get.
Quality.
I know he's had his injury problems, but I was looking at Dortmund's midfield going into this season. Okay, at the minute, you got Bellingham, Brandt, Emre Can. You've got Dahoud, Thorgan Hazard is a winger. Gio Reyna is a winger. Wolf is a holding midfielder, and then you've got a couple of kids. It's not a case I don't think Dortmund will sell, because I don't think Dortmund made that much money off the Haaland deal, as what people think. The buyout was very, very reasonable. They paid a fair chunk of change to Salzburg to get him, and by the time you look at what they had to outlay to get him compared to what they got in, and then they had to outlay the wages that they paid him at the time, Dortmund probably come out of that with a plus 7 or 8 million total. It wasn't much. And they've spent a fair chunk of change this season on forwards, and bringing in Sebastian Haller and players like that.
Good going.
Yeah, I don't think we're 105, 110 million desperate this summer. I don't. I think someone would have to go, because the squad is full at the minute. I think we've got a squad of 25 when the like Nico and what have you are sold.
Possibly sold.
I would have thought so, but then you see him when he's doing the media stuff.
I just was going to say that, yeah.
When you see him doing the media stuff, he doesn't look like a guy who's going to be going. And he's perfectly entitled to run his contract down and go for nothing at the end of the season. It seems like it's becoming a more common thing for players to do, and he's perfectly entitled to do that. I think next summer, there's going to be a queue of clubs, but I go back to what we said at the start of the pod. We are the best run club in world football. We are in the elite 3 or 4 clubs in world football. We have the best manager in world football who can get the best out of a player like Jude Bellingham. So we shouldn't be afraid of going into not a bidding war, but putting our hat in the ring for a Jude Bellingham when he becomes available next summer and say, look, this is our offer. This is what we can offer you. Look at what we've done with players of your caliber and age in the past. Do you want to come and play for us? We already know that his brother is playing at the club. We already know that his family have strong links with the club. And we know that, well, if you believe the reports, we know the Klopp has already talked to him. I firmly believe that we will get him next summer. And I don't think it will be an extortionate price either. He'll have a year less left in his contract. His contract runs out in 2025. Even then, he's still going to be a relatively young player. But James Milner will probably go at the end of next season. Jordan Henderson is another year older who will fulfill that role. Ox is gone. That's 2 big wages off your wage bill. And that leaves 2 empty spaces. And with Mo Salah signing for the extension, it means we don't have to go out and spend big to bring in another right winger. It means next summer we can solely focus on bringing in a top-tier central midfielder for the next decade. So I wouldn't be too worried about Jude Bellingham this summer, but I'd fully expect us to be leading the charge to get him next summer.
Yeah, totally agree. And do you think there's a possibility that we could do a deal this summer for next summer, or do you think we'll just wait till then and it could possibly be a bidding war?
I think the clubs might come to an understanding that we might buy first preference or something like that. You often see clubs maybe pay 5 million, 8 million to a club to say, okay, we want first refusal if this player comes available. Or if you're thinking of selling this player, we want first refusal. So you can guarantee that you're getting first crack at talking to the player legitimately. I don't think we'll go down Naby Keita road again because, look, I think for the money that we outlay for Naby, we haven't had that level of return. And Jude Bellingham at that kind of money would be, I think, off the top of my head anyway, it would be a world record fee for a centre midfielder. Let alone an English.
It'd be a club record fee after.
I can't think of any centre mids that have gone for over 100 million.
No, so, I don't think anyone. I think Pogba was 95, 98, and I think he might have been the most expensive from Juventus.
Exactly. So I don't think when it's all said and done that he will go for 105, 108, 110 million. I just don't think the money is going to be in the game. But with Salah staying, we've set ourselves up for FFP to be in such a strong position to be able to go big on someone like him next summer. Bearing in mind, we might need to be looking next summer as well at adding a centre back. Potentially, we might have to be doing something like that, depending on what happened with Joel next season. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, but I don't see it happening this summer unless something drastically changes. All it takes is one phone call. Phone call changes all of this. If we get a sizable offer come in for a Naby or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. And I think if Jude wants Liverpool and Liverpool want Jude, it'll happen. I think it'll happen. And I think they'll always come to agreement. And Liverpool are very good at haggling these deals and, hustling with these deals. And now Julian Ward has done great already after Michael Edwards. Like, he's had a great window so far for us and got deals done early, which is phenomenal, And people say, look, deals are done before pre-season, but this is going to be a short pre-season, and there's a couple of them coming back to pre-season a bit later this year because obviously the Nations League and what have you. And but look, it's a shorter pre-season.
Today, isn't it? I think as of today they're all back.
I think today, and I think tomorrow. I think we get more, maybe Thiago, and I think so, Kev. I'm not 100% in that, but I know tomorrow evening they fly out to that's where they make the trip to Asia tomorrow evening.
I place to go.
Yeah, they broke up early this afternoon, and they obviously all went home and done whatever for the evening, and they're back then tomorrow evening to meet up, and then they go. So I don't think there's any training tomorrow unless they do whatever their own schedule at home. And then I wouldn't imagine there'll be much on Sunday with the travel getting over there. Probably a bit Monday, and then obviously United Tuesday. Our current midfield, Kev, I know we're going to wrap this up soon because we're busy evening ahead. Our current midfield, our best three, like you'll talk about, say, Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, Keita in there. You might say Elliott, even Milner, Jones, whatever. Who you want to pick three out of those? Are they able to play consistently 2-3 games a week going forward? Because the availability always, we've seen Henderson has a fair share of injuries. Keita has, Ox has. Elliott unfortunately got an injury. Jones might get a couple, doesn't normally. But can they, that's the question, can this midfield stay consistent and be able to do it week in, week out? Because every game's a must-win for Liverpool. And towards the end of last season, it was too much for me. With just too much expectancy to win every game. They were all so tough.
It was hard for us. Players.
We drew one game against Spurs, and that just wasn't enough. It was crazy. Like, I felt it physically, and I was nothing to do with it. But imagine what the players felt. But it was so exciting. But do you think they can, or do we need to sign another midfielder?
Okay, it's probably the one part of the pitch the Klopp rotates the most. It's very rare that you'll see the same three play 3 games on the bounce. He'll almost invariably change one every game. He might ideally, but for the second half of the season, he'll probably play 3 from 5. But at the start of the season, he'll often make 4 changes at the start, for every lineup. Be that a defender will come out, 2 midfielders, and a forward will be rotated. And he's gotten very good at managing the squad minutes. And if you look up the total squad minutes played for last season as a whole, it's very even all the way down. The type of players, the Curtis Joneses, the Oxlade-Chamberlains, Fabinho's, Bobby, all the way down up to the top players, is very similar in the blocks. So he manages the squad really, really well. I wouldn't expect any club challenging for a title to be using the same players.
No,
it's just a case of can enough of them stay fit for long enough that enables you to rotate in the way you want to. That's the key. And the fact that you're going to have 5 subs in every competition helps that an awful lot.
Yeah, 5 subs is great for Liverpool. It suits us, it benefits us and the likes of City. And I know some of the other teams that hadn't got as much strength and depth or quality weren't all for it. But for us, it's massive. And we just got to have good game management next season, manage the minutes, manage the games. Because I know we talk about every game's a must win, but we don't need to play our best team in every game, particularly at home. And I seen last season, there's a couple of games where Klopp made a lot of changes. You're a bit surprised, but a lot of lads, because the harmony and the humour that's in that team, Kev, particularly the squad harmony, Klopp will give minutes to as many players as possible and will give everyone a fair share, and they will give everything for him because it's Jurgen Klopp. And when they give everything for him, most 9 times out of 10 we win games or get the result that's needed. So
that's why you very rarely see players being forced out of the club.
It doesn't happen.
If the player asked to leave, like Taki asked to leave because he wanted more minutes, so we facilitated the move for him, rightly so. Sadio the same. Sadio could have sat down.
Yeah.
Ran his contract down, no problem.
Taki and Origi last season, Kev, started 1 Premier League game between them. So whatever, if they didn't get minutes last season with Nunes coming in, Salah new deal this season, there was 7 forward players last season, and because they mostly all stayed fit throughout the season. Remember, we played 63 games, and it's probably unlikely we're going to play that amount of games this season. We might get to 60, maybe a bit less, but in an ideal world and realistically, are we going to go all the way in every competition this season? At the start of the season, you'd probably say no, because we done it last season at so much. But we could as well. There's nothing to say we won't. I'm not saying we will or won't, but speaking now, it's more unlikely than it is likely. So we've 6 forwards now going into this season. I think that's loads, and I do still think when the best players are playing regularly, they're scoring goals to winning games, they want to keep playing. They don't want to be left out, even in cup games. So Klopp will, I think, this season prioritise the league and Champions League, and I think the 2 cups he's won, he's had that off his back. There was a bit of controversy in the media about he wasn't taking the season. He's done that. He's done it well in style. Had his trips to Wembley. We invaded there. I think, the league and Champions League, we just fell narrowly by a fraction short of them last season. I think this season he'll want to win both, but we'll be really pleased to win one of the 2, because we've a juggernaut and City competing, and they are going to be out as well to do that. And it's just unfortunate the times that we're in with the money they have, the resources. And when Klopp came in to Liverpool in 2015, City were already winning titles for 6, 7, 8 years and competing well before that. So they're well ahead of us in that regard. You know what I mean? So you have to be realistic.
They're going to be in transition this season, mate. I think.
Yeah, they lose some players. Absolutely, yeah.
Look at who they're losing. Look at who they're bringing in. The positions that they're bringing them in at. That's why I said that they have to get. Haaland has to hit the ground running.
Huge pressure.
There is huge pressure on that City squad. They've still got Nathan Ake going out the door. I know he's only a backup, but still.
Yeah, he played his part.
Back short. They brought in Calvin Phillips, good player, no doubt, but he's replacing Fernandinho, who's a club legend who knew the system inside out. So they've got a lot of players that have to come in and adapt, whereas we really don't.
No, we don't.
Our squad is very settled, and we've added to it, so we can hold them and let them bed into the squad, whereas City don't have that luxury. They're going to be playing the likes of Haaland and the kiddie they brought in from Argentina. His name escapes me at the minute. But
I can't think of it. I'm not even going to guess. I can't think of it either.
But look, it's going to be a fascinating season. The preseason, we all love the preseason games anyway, because we're going to be looking out for players, hoping to see progress, hoping not to see any injuries.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's not the season. It's the Charity Shield is at the end of the month. It's
What's your thoughts on that?
It's crazy that we're playing the next day as well. We're playing Strasbourg on the 31st. It's at Leicester's ground because the Women's Euros final is at Wembley that day. It's 5 p.m. kickoff. I think it's just going to be a glorified friendly. I'm not going to take anything out of it. It's just going to be a case of minutes and legs. They'll want to see where we are, and we'll want to see where they are. You know, I don't believe in putting markers down in friendlies. It doesn't wash like that.
No.
I'm actually interested to see what United are like.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what Ten Hag's approach to that squad is going to be. You know, but preseason is just that. It's preseason. There's no points on offer. There's no silverware on offer. There's no bragging rights on offer. Nothing. It's just get through it, get home, and get the league started.
It's a case of getting through, as you say, getting minutes in, trying out new systems, trying out different players, tactics with player formations, and just obviously everyone taking the foot off the gas that bit more, because you don't want to get injured in pre-season then be out for the competitive stuff. The competitive stuff, Kev, first game of the season, going away at Craven Cottage, Fulham, beating them, I will take over. I'd happily lose every pre-season game and win that, because it means nothing. The results mean nothing. And the glorified friendly in the Community Shield. Look, it would be horrible going up the steps at the end and collecting, you know, the silver medal. Like, no one wants to, especially against City. But at the same time, you're not going to be disappointed about it. You know, you're not going to be delighted if you beat them. You're just going to be next week.
It's one game that you want to be involved in every season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because
to be in it, you have to either win the cup or win the league. You know, absolutely. So it's the one game that everyone wants to be in, and they'll all write it off as being, well, it's this, that, and the other. It's a Mickey Mouse game and all that. I'm telling you, the only reason that everyone is sat at home and watching it is because we won something to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and look, if we've a choice, we'll want to win this as well. Liverpool just don't want to lose, but that's the competitiveness. And obviously, to be 2 eyes. And you know, there's no worries on the City game. 2 eyes in that first game of the season, but we'll just hope. Look, if we can beat City, great. Win as many friendlies as we can, and then get a great start to the season. Because August will be a long month as well for football to start early. I can't wait for Kev. It's great to have you on. I know you're on the spot, so everybody go over and tune in to the Daytrippers. Kev will be on it at 10. Sports and Plug, loads of good talking points. I'll tune in. Unfortunately, to cut it a bit short, with busy evening ahead, a lot going on. But great to get you on, Kev, and great to see you looking very rejuvenated and good as well. That the cut, is it the haircut looking fresh?
I have to look kind of look like I'm making an effort these days, apparently.
Yeah. No,
but no, look, I'm glad to be on anytime. I love coming on.
It's always good discussion.
I chat about football all day, every day. So. I miss it now. The end of last season was painful watching. It was so hard. Every game was just stress, and everything had something on it. And I thought, I just want this season to end. Within 2 weeks, I was like, I miss it now. We've no World Cup this year. In the summer, we normally have the World Cup in the summer, so there's nothing to just veg and watch. So yeah, I just need my fix again. I just want the league to start up and get on and start enjoying the grind again, you know?
Absolutely. Get back to the fix. But we'll wrap it up there then. It's day 5 of pre-season for Liverpool. Next to pre-season friendlies United. They do travel to Asia tomorrow, Thailand first, and then Singapore next, and then the friendlies in Germany, Austria, King Power Community Shield final, and then Anfield the day after, which is again very strange. 6 days before they play the 12:30 kickoff at Craven Cottage against Fulham. Kev, pleasure, mate. Have a good one. Take care. And thanks to everybody. And remember that word in the comments, and to remember to like, comment, and share this video. Big up all. Take care.